So I just had to hop on the internet to give a little PSA to white people. You are not allowed to do black hairstyles. I need you to get this through your thick white skulls. It is a microaggression, it is racism, it is stealing from black people, which I guess is what you white people love to do. You stole us from Africa, you stole jazz music, you stole hip hop, you steal our food, you steal our bodies, you steal our hairstyles. I just can't believe how racist it is. Racism, black people, oppression, microaggression, black, 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 black. Guys, today we're going to be reacting to a white girl who committed a heinous act of racism. That act of racism was hopping on TikTok and asking whether or not she was allowed to put braids in her hair. I'm being so serious. Even Lizzo came after her. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into this video, please like and subscribe. I have a feeling I'm going to be sharing a message a lot of people need to hear today, and that is a message about cultural appropriation, or as I like to call it, cultural appreciation. But some people aren't ready for that conversation yet. Now, speaking of people who aren't ready for that conversation, today we're going to be reacting to a white girl who is catching some heat on the internet for daring to ask whether or not she can put braids in her hair. Without further ado, let's get into her video. Now, just a little bit of background here. This girl was responding to a popular mixed-race influencer by the name of Nara Smith, who decided to put braids in her hair. Of course, Nara Smith is mixed race, so that is allowed, but this white girl decided to ask the question, is it okay if I put braids in my hair? Let's watch.
Did you guys see the vlog where Nara Smith got her entire hair braided in these tiny little perfect braids? I physically cannot. My entire dream since I was a little girl is to have my hair braided like this, and I have not been able to do it, but I don't think you guys understand. Like, I am obsessed. I think it is the most beautiful hairstyle in the entire world. I live 10 feet away from the ocean and I can't go swimming. I can't remember the last time as an adult that I put my head either under the ocean or under the pool water, and all I want to do is feel free. All I want to do is be able to go swimming and diving like a little fish in the water and come out and just have my hair sit like this in these little perfect braids. I don't know what to do though. I guess I'm basically asking, am I allowed to do this or not? Because if I can, I will do it. I want the little tiny ones. I want them long. I want them all over my head. This, I'm not kidding you, is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Ever. I'm obsessed.
So did you guys hear anything triggering there? Did you hear anything racist there? If not, you're normal, but people decided to go off on this girl saying that she's a racist cultural appropriator for even daring to ask the question as to whether or not she can go and get box braids. I want to take a moment to emphasize how appreciative she was of the beauty of this hairstyle, the idea that she's wanted this for a really long time, the practicality of the hairstyle within her view, and I also want to emphasize how inquisitive she was as to whether or not it's actually okay that she get this hairstyle on her head. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the message shared in the TikTok that we just watched. Now, as a half black person myself who has experienced all different types of hairstyles, including box braids, I would caution her that oftentimes white hair does not do too well in box braids and it can lead to breakage and damage, but she seems to have experienced braids before in her hair and said, you know what, it was actually pretty practical for me. I found that I could swim without having trouble with my hair. It ended up being a pretty good decision. So my message to her would be to be careful, make sure you get a style that is better for her hair type, and to proceed with caution. But a ton of perpetual victims are now jumping down this girl's throat and saying that she is a racist cultural appropriator for even daring to ask the question. Others are telling her to get these braids while giving her very dangerous advice when it comes to hair care. Now let's get into some of the offended responses that are going viral on TikTok, one of which Lizzo reposted.
To all of the people that are telling this white woman to come on TikTok wearing Nara Smith braids, and if you don't know what Nara Smith braids are, they are box braids that this white woman saw Nara Smith wearing, so she called them Nara Smith braids. Which is already annoying because it only takes one white person to change the name of something that they like in a black culture, something already that has a name, that has a category, that has everything already. But it only takes one white person to change the name, and ever since then it'll be named whatever that white person named it.
Yeah, let's test that. Let's check back in a couple weeks and see if anybody is referring to box braids as Nara Smith braids. This young girl made a mistake, if we can even call it that. She saw Nara Smith get a hairstyle and referred to it as Nara Smith braids. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not like she's trying to steal the hairstyle and give it her own custom name and claim that she came up with it. People need to chill. The victimhood mentality runs so deep here. It's just really radiating off of this video. But let's continue.
It's gonna be trending. It's probably gonna be trending under Nara Smith braids. Oh my goodness, Nara Smith braids. And it always sets us back 17 years, okay? But anyways, that's already annoying in itself. But to you black people in her comments telling her to come on this app wearing the braids, you are setting this woman up for failure. No matter how genuine or good intention your messages are, it doesn't matter how you feel about white people wearing cultural hairstyles or black hairstyles. You know that if she comes on this app, she's going to get like eaten. Like she's going to be eaten alive. You know that if this woman comes on this app with braids on her head, it's going to be her downfall. Especially after her calling it Nara Smith braids and her moving around and talking like she has no concept of black hairstyle. Like you're playing with this girl. You know very well that it's not going to go well for her. And yet you're in her comments like, yeah, get the braids. And y'all not even being sarcastic. Like the funny sarcastic thing y'all be doing. Like get a relaxer and then put on the braids. No. You guys are just being dense.
Now, as much as I disagree with the reason behind this young girl's message, she is absolutely right. If this young white girl decided to put braids in her hair and post it on TikTok, she would be eaten alive by a group of people who are so obsessed with the idea of racism and oppression that they cannot see straight. But just because society decides to engage in this ridiculous back and forth over hairstyles does not mean that you should be the one to let society dictate what you do with your hair. If you want to put braids in your hair and that's a style that you've been dreaming of since you were a little kid, by all means, go ahead and do it. Hopefully you do it in a way that is safe for your hair, that's not going to lead to your hair falling out, and I wish you the best of luck with that. But do not allow people who are choosing to call you a racist or an oppressor to stop you from doing something that you'd like to do. And while you might not be able to achieve the exact same look as Nara Smith or any other black person that does box braids, you could probably do something semi-similar without really destroying your hair. But that lady's right. You have to weigh in the fact that people are going to come after you as if you've committed some sort of hate crime after you get your hair done. And you have to ask yourself whether or not it's worth it to go through that ordeal. Now we're gonna look at another reply, and this is the one that Lizzo reposted. An A-list celebrity decided to fan the flames of this controversy over hair.
Let's have a quick chit chat about this video. Basically in the video, she's asking if it would be appropriate for her to get box braids. She says she has pretty curly hair, really curly hair. I don't know what that looks like for her. I don't know why that video was necessary. I don't know why that video needed to get posted, especially when you see a lot of women, a lot of white women, especially in the comments saying, you don't owe anyone an explanation. You can do whatever you want with your hair. Like they don't get to dictate your hairstyle, aka black women. So it's like she's over here asking her white audience if she can do a hairstyle. And I get that. It did reach me and a lot of other black women. But what is the point? I think at the end of the day, like what I see time and time again is that white women and women, period, non-black women will do what they want to with their hair. I think posting videos like that, someone said it's like rage bait, where it's to make black women mad, or to be like, she's like, I just can't, my hair, like I can't do when it's wet, and like if the ocean smells my hair, it'll poof up. Totally understand. My hair, if I get my leave out wet, it's gonna be a problem. But posting that video, why? Her just saying, it's so beautiful, I'm obsessed with it, like da-da-da-da. And I love braids myself, I love wearing them. A lot of you in my anger and confusion stems from braids and protective styles are becoming comfortable when white people like them. There had to be a law put in place that people wouldn't be discriminated based on their hair texture, their hairstyle. It's meant for a protective style for black women. Our hair is also even, like, I would say delicate. Like we cannot do everything that white women can do to her hair. I don't know not one black woman that will constantly dye her hair blonde and survive. I'm not a huge fan of any non-black woman talking about black women's hair or talking about styles or wishing they had them. You know, at the end of the day, if that woman wants box braids, she is going to get them. Stop asking black people what you can do as a white person, because you are going to do it regardless.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. Okay. There's so much being said here, so much wrong with so much audacity, but let's get into it. If you ask black women, you've done the wrong thing. If you appreciate the hairstyle, you've done the wrong thing. If you don't ask and get braids, you've done the wrong thing. So let me know what the proper steps are for a white person who's interested in a hairstyle whatsoever. What is it that they should do that's going to stop you from gaining oppression points from the microaggression or racism that they've committed against you? She states that black hair is fragile and delicate, and that's why black people can't do the same things that white people can do to their hair. Meanwhile, many are making the argument that white people shouldn't get box braids because of their delicate and fragile hair. The solution to previous discrimination is not current discrimination. You shouldn't gatekeep and bar people from being able to participate in your culture because you were once denigrated for participating in that culture. It doesn't make sense. If anything, more people choosing to adopt box braids or dreads makes society more accommodating. I know people don't want to hear that because they don't want to hear that white people are the reason that something became accepted. But here we are, and we live in a world where, let's be honest, not that many black people are facing discrimination because of their hair. We know that that's not the case. Be so for real right now. And while you can bring me stories of kids being kicked out of school for certain hairstyles or people suing companies because they feel like they were fired over their hair, these are individual instances and they go viral because our society generally agrees that it's absolutely ridiculous to place those sort of constraints on people. So no, you're not concerned really about discrimination. You're not concerned about the proper way to do the hairstyle or to ask to even do the hairstyle. You're concerned with gatekeeping. And that's what you'd like to do here. We can just be honest with ourselves. But let's continue.
It's been shown for hundreds of years in America and hundreds of years in the world. The black community is always getting so many questions from white people and non-black people about things they can and cannot do, cannot say, cannot go. Just look it up. Like, she would have looked up, she would have saw that braids can be very damaging to white hair, whether you're a white girl and you have curly hair or not. It's not the same texture as a black woman's hair, period. I'll close off with saying, I have a weave right now, love my weave, protecting my hair, I love it. But a lot of people have said to me during this weave, especially on TikTok, why do you have a weave? You can't love your natural hair. Like, why don't you love your natural hair texture? Why don't you show your natural hair? When I've been doing that for years. But when a white woman gets braids, box braids, some cornrows, ooh, exotic. Ooh, we love that. Yay. Do you understand? Like, black women's hair, regardless of what people say, no, like, if this reaches the wrong audience, they're gonna be like, oh, black women are so sensitive. Get over it. Everyone has hair. Get over it. By the end of the day, it's a sensitive topic. If you think black women are sensitive, so be it. Black women, believe it or not, have emotions just like everyone else. Love my hair in any condition. Like I said, stop asking black women these questions.
You have in fact reached the wrong audience. You have, in fact, reached the wrong audience. She states that white people are constantly asking black people what they can and cannot do. Who set up that rule? Who's the one that set up the culture and environment that led to white people asking those sorts of questions? Victimhood black people who told them that anything they do that involves blackness, they must get permission for. White people are coming to you to ask those questions because they're scared of being called a racist, even though when they ask the questions, they're called a racist anyway. And I love the fact that she glossed over what is the very real criticism that she has a damn near bone straight sew-in on her head. Is bone straight hair typical for black people? And she says, I get criticism for having the sew-in in, and white people don't get criticism for having their braids. The reason you get criticism is because you function as a gatekeeper. You are the one who is doling out judgment to people who decide to change their hairstyle. And because of that, you get judgment in return because you are a hypocrite. White people who decide to get braids are not hypocrites because they're accepting of all hairstyles. The amount of mental gymnastics you have to do to remain a victim in today's culture is actually astounding, but I guess y'all are Simone Biles or something. And for Lizzo, an A-list celebrity with mountains of money and fame and popularity, to repost a TikTok video going after some random white girl on TikTok, that's crazy. But we all know that Lizzo's victimhood status transcends her fame. We've seen her talk about it time and time again. The moral of the story is this: there is nothing that you can do correctly as a white person that involves black people or black culture. So honestly, at this point, you shouldn't bother. Don't ask, don't go back and forth. Just do what it is you're gonna do, and hopefully what brings you happiness and fulfillment, and hopefully do it in a way that is protective to you, your lifestyle, and your hair on this subject matter. If you're going to attempt a box braid style as a white person, in my personal opinion, take this with a grain of salt. You don't want to add in weave that's going to weigh down your hair, and you don't want to braid the braids too tight, as this can lead to breakage and damage to your hair. If you're going to do a hairstyle that you're not sure about, do a little bit of research, find out what's healthy for your hair, because believe it or not, white people have been putting braids in their hair for centuries, and they figured out a way to do it. It might not look exactly like a black braided hairstyle, but it's achievable regardless of what these victims say to you. There's going to be a million different things you do in this life that can make a million different people mad, and we have to make our own personal decisions on those choices and decide whether or not it's worth the backlash, if it's worth the back and forth, and I will leave that to you. But my advice is, don't let the attitude of others dictate what you do with your life, especially when it comes to something as menial as getting braids in your hair. It's not cultural appropriation, it's cultural appreciation. And I think we'll leave it at that, but I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, if you disagree with me, duke it out, but do so respectfully. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every day. And I will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.